Commander Jack Winters stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, his face hard as stone. The view screen showed the approaching Arcturian ship, its strange purple hull gleaming against the darkness of space. Jack's hand tightened on the back of his chair. "They're right on schedule," said Lieutenant Kate Miller, her voice tight. "The alien delegation will dock in 15 minutes. Jack nodded but said nothing. These were not normal talks. Today would change everything. The Arcturians thought they were arriving for another round of talks where they would make demands and humans would bow their heads and agree. It had been this way for almost 70 years, ever since humans first ventured beyond their solar system and met the Galactic Confederation. At first, the aliens had seemed friendly. They welcomed humans as curious newcomers to the galactic community. But that changed once they realized how far behind human technology was compared to theirs. Slowly, the deals became worse. The treaties became traps. Human colonies found their resources stolen, their borders violated. Last month, the Arcturians had crossed the final line. They attacked the Martian research station without warning, killing 300 civilians. Jack's brother Sam had been among them. "Status report on our defenses," Jack said. Officer Lisa Coleman looked up from her screen. "All systems ready, Commander. The fleet is positioned exactly as Admiral Bennett ordered, hidden but ready to move." Jack moved to the large window and looked out at Earth, blue and peaceful below them. How many times had humans given in to alien demands to keep that peace? How many resources had they surrendered? How many colonies had suffered? The door to the bridge slid open. Admiral Eric Bennett walked in, his gray uniform crisp, his face showing the weight of his 60 years. "Is everything ready for our guests, Commander?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Miller is preparing the conference room now." The Admiral nodded. "Good. And our other preparations?" "All in place, sir. The evidence is ready to be presented. Defense systems are on standby." Bennett moved closer to Jack, speaking quietly. "The Council has approved our proposal. Today we make our stand." Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For months he had argued that humanity needed to change its approach. No more bowing to alien demands. No more peace at any cost. The Council had finally agreed after the Martian massacre. Lieutenant Miller returned to the bridge. "The conference room is ready, sir. The delegates will arrive shortly." "Thank you, Lieutenant," said the Admiral. "Remember your training, everyone. These aliens believe we are weak and predictable. Today they learn otherwise." A light flashed on the control panel. "Sir," said Officer Paul Garcia, "the Arcturian ship has docked. The Voxian and Nebulon ships are right behind them." Jack wasn't surprised. The three most powerful species in the Confederation always travel together when dealing with humans. They thought it made them look stronger. "Very well," said Admiral Bennett. "Commander Winters, Lieutenant Miller with me. The rest of you, remain at your stations and be ready." As they walked toward the conference room, Jack remembered the footage he had watched 100 times. The Martian station burning, bodies floating in space, his brother's last message. "They came without warning, Jack. They said we were in their way. No more. No more dead civilians. No more broken treaties. No more giving in to bullies who saw humans as nothing but resources to be used." The door to the conference room stood before them. Inside waited the representatives of the Galactic Confederation, confident in their power, certain of human submission. "Are you ready, Commander?" asked Admiral Bennett. Jack straightened his uniform. "Yes, sir. Humanity has been ready for a long time." The Admiral nodded to the guards, and the door slid open. The aliens turned to look at them, their alien faces showing what Jack had learned to recognize as smug confidence. "Let's show them who we really are," whispered the Admiral. They stepped into the room together, carrying with them humanity's new message to the stars. No more peace. The conference room fell silent as Jack, Admiral Bennett, and Lieutenant Miller took their seats across from the alien delegation. The long metal table gleamed under the bright lights. The insect-like Arcturian ambassador, Xetlik, sat in the center, his four arms folded across his chitinous chest. To his right was the Voxian representative, her crystalline body reflecting rainbow patterns on the walls. On his left floated the Nebulon diplomat, a swirling mass of gases contained in a special suit. "We are pleased you agreed to this meeting," Xetlik said, his mandibles clicking between words. "We have prepared a new resource agreement for Earth's outer colonies. You will find our terms most fair." Admiral Bennett did not reach for the data pad the Arcturian slid across the table. "We are not here to discuss resource agreements, Ambassador." The Voxian's crystal body flashed red. This meeting was scheduled to address the terms off. "The terms have changed," Jack cut in, "along with humanity's patience." The three aliens exchanged glances. The Nebulon's gas form swirled faster, a sign of irritation Jack had learned to recognize. "Perhaps you misunderstand your position," Xetlik said. "The Confederation has been quite generous with Earth, considering your limited contributions to galactic society." Admiral Bennett leaned forward. "Let me be clear about humanity's new position. There will be no more concessions, no more unfair trade agreements, no more violations of human space." A sound like breaking glass came from the Voxian as she laughed. "And what will you do if we choose to ignore this position?" "This is not a request," Jack said. "This is a declaration." Lieutenant Miller activated the room's display system. A video appeared in the air above the table. It showed a meeting room much like this one, but filled with high-ranking Confederation officials. "This is a recording from the Confederation Council chambers 3 months ago," Miller explained. On the screen, the Supreme Chancellor of the Voxian spoke. "The human colonies near the Orion sector contain valuable minerals. Once we complete the current extraction agreements, we can begin the process of removing the human presence entirely." The Arcturian in the video nodded. "Their military capability remains limited. They pose no threat." Jack watched the aliens' reactions. The Nebulon's gas turned a pale yellow. The Voxian's crystal surface dulled. The Arcturian's antenna flattened against his head. "Impossible," Xetlik hissed. "Our chambers cannot be recorded. The technology does not exist." Science Officer Lisa Coleman entered the room, carrying a small device. "But it does exist. We developed quantum surveillance technology that can observe any location without detection." "You lie," the Voxian said, but her voice lacked confidence. "We have been watching you for years," Admiral Bennett said. "We know about your plans to strip mine our colonies, to study our biology for weaknesses, to eventually replace us with your own colonists." Xetlik rose from his seat. "This changes nothing. The Confederation military power far exceeds Earth's capacity. If you refuse to honor our agreements, we will take what we need by force." Jack smiled for the first time. "We expected that response." He touched a button on his wrist device. The room's display changed to show the solar system. Thousands of small dots appeared, surrounding Earth, Mars, and the major human colonies. "We have deployed automated defense systems throughout human territory," Jack explained. "Any unauthorized entry will trigger an immediate response." "You bluff," the Nebulon gurgled. "Test us," Admiral Bennett said simply. The Arcturian's mandibles clicked rapidly. "The Confederation will not tolerate this defiance. You have made a grave mistake." The aliens stood as one and moved toward the door. "Tell your leaders," Jack called after them. "Humanity is no longer asking for fair treatment. We are demanding it." When the door closed behind the delegation, Lieutenant Miller let out a long breath. "That went exactly as you predicted, sir." Admiral Bennett nodded. "They'll be back, and not for more talks." "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. Jack turned to look at the display, still showing the human defenses spread across the solar system. "Not long. 3 weeks, maybe less." "Is that enough time?" Admiral Bennett asked. Jack nodded. "It has to be. The fleet will be in position by then. Every colony has been reinforced. And if they bring their full armada? Miller asked quietly. Jack's face hardened. Then they'll learn why humans have survived on Earth for so long. We don't start fights, but we certainly finish them. 3 weeks passed quickly. The warning systems blared across Alpha Base, hidden deep within Jupiter's moon Europa. Admiral Bennett and Fleet Commander Olivia Rice stood in the command center, watching as red dots appeared on the large display. Arcturian battle fleet has entered the system, reported the sensor officer. 87 ships, approaching Jupiter's orbit. Olivia frowned. Only 87. Intelligence suggested they would send at least 300. They think we're weaker than we are, Admiral Bennett said. They're sending what they believe is enough. Jack entered the room, his uniform showing signs of the long hours he had worked preparing their defenses. Are we ready? As ready as we'll ever be, Olivia answered. Defense grid is active, but hidden. The fleet is in position within Jupiter's storm system. Jack nodded, and Engineer Garcia's new shields. Installed on all major ships, Bennett confirmed. If his gravitational shielding works as well as the tests showed, we might survive this. The display updated as the alien fleet moved deeper into the solar system. They passed the outer planets without slowing. They're confident, Jack observed. No scouts, no search patterns. Pride comes before the fall, Bennett said quietly. Hours passed as they watched the alien fleet approach. The Arcturians sent no messages, made no demands. They simply came, expecting an easy victory over the humans who had dared to stand up to them. They're approaching the line, Olivia announced. Everyone in the command center grew tense. The line wasn't visible. It was simply a distance they had chosen, a point of no return. The first Arcturian ships crossed it. Activate first phase, Bennett ordered. Across the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, thousands of hidden mines suddenly powered up. They had been placed there over the past month, disguised as simple rocks. On the display, dozens of explosions appeared among the alien fleet. Ships spun out of formation. Several smaller vessels disappeared entirely. They're regrouping, Jack said, watching the remaining ships form a defensive pattern. Second phase, Bennett ordered. Hidden within larger asteroids, railgun platforms revealed themselves and opened fire. Massive metal slugs shot toward the alien ships at incredible speeds. More explosions lit up the display. The aliens returned fire, destroying several of the platforms, but more damage was done to their fleet. Sir, called out Communications Officer Grave Howard, they're sending distress signals to the Confederation, requesting reinforcements. Time for Phase 3, Bennett said grimly. Jack touched his communicator. All ships execute storm break maneuver. From within Jupiter's massive storm system, the human fleet emerged. 47 warships, led by the U.S. Defiant, moved into attack formation. Engineer Garcia's gravitational shields are holding, Olivia reported as the alien weapons fire splashed harmlessly against the human ships. The battle raged for hours. The humans had the advantage of surprise and planning, but the aliens had advanced technology and centuries of battle experience. In the end, it was enough. The remaining alien ships, less than 30 now, began to pull back. They're retreating, Olivia announced, disbelief in her voice. A cheer went up across the command center, but Jack didn't join in. They'll be back, he said, and in greater numbers. Sir, called intelligence analyst Diane Rodriguez from her station. I'm picking up unusual communication patterns from the retreating ships. They're sending coded messages on frequencies we haven't seen before. Can you decode them? Bennett asked. Working on it, sir, but there's something strange. They keep referencing something called the stellar weapon. At that moment, astrophysicist Alan Murphy rushed into the command center, his face pale. Admiral, I need to speak with you immediately. We've detected unusual stellar activity near Proxima Centauri. Jack and Bennett exchanged worried looks. Proxima Centauri was home to one of humanity's largest colony worlds, with over 2 million people. What kind of activity? Jack asked. The star is showing signs of accelerated fusion in its outer layers, Helen explained. It's not natural. Something or someone is manipulating the star itself. A cold silence fell over the room as the implications became clear. They're going to try to kill an entire colony, Jack said, his voice hard, without firing a single shot at the planet itself. Bennett turned to Olivia. Prepare the U.S. Phantom for immediate departure. We need to reach Proxima Centauri before it's too late. The U.S. Phantom raced through space faster than any human ship had ever traveled before. Jack stood on the bridge, watching the stars blur past on the view screen. The ship vibrated slightly under the strain of the new engines. How much longer? He asked. Pilot Nancy Bell checked her instruments. 4 hours to Proxima Centauri, sir. We're pushing the engines beyond safety limits. Keep pushing, Jack ordered. We have 2 million people counting on us. Lisa Coleman approached with a datapad. I've analyzed Murphy's data on the stellar activity. It's definitely artificial. Someone is using a device to speed up the star's fusion reactions in targeted areas. How does that help them? Jack asked. It will cause a massive solar flare aimed directly at the colony planet, Lisa explained. The radiation would kill everyone on the surface within minutes. Jack's hands tightened into fists. And the Confederation can claim it was a natural disaster. On the other side of the solar system, Chief Negotiator Susan Ward sat in a small, dimly lit room. Across from her was Ambassador Krell of the Tellurians, a species with gray skin and large eyes. The Tellurians had been among the first races conquered by the Confederation centuries ago. You understand the risk you're taking by meeting with me, Susan said quietly. Krell nodded. My people have suffered under Confederation rule for 300 years. We watch what is happening with humans. You fight back. No one fights back against the Confederation. We need allies, Susan said. The Confederation is too powerful for humans to defeat alone. There are others who feel as we do, Krell admitted. The Melosians, the Cronins, many species who remember freedom. Would they join us? Susan asked. Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. Perhaps, if you prove you can truly stand against the Confederation. Back on Earth, military historian Frank Collins searched through ancient battle records. His small office was filled with books and maps. Computer, show me again the Battle of Thermopylae, he said. The screen displayed images of a narrow pass where a small force had once held off a much larger army. And now the naval battle of Salamis. Another image appeared, showing how a smaller fleet had defeated a larger one by using the terrain to their advantage. Frank nodded to himself. The aliens have numbers, but they think in straight lines. They attack head-on because they've never needed to be creative. He began typing quickly, outlining the new battle strategy. On the U.S. Phantom, the tension grew as they approached Proxima Centauri. The star filled the view screen, its surface churning with unusual activity. I'm detecting an artificial structure orbiting the star, Lisa reported. It's generating some kind of energy field that's penetrating the star's outer layers. Can we disable it? Jack asked. Yes, but we'll have to get close. Very close. Jack turned to Nancy. Take us in. The Phantom moved toward the star, its heat shield straining against the incredible temperature. Sir, Great Howard called from communications. I'm intercepting transmissions from the device to a Confederation ship hiding on the far side of the star. They're monitoring their weapon, Jack said. They probably don't expect anyone to find it, let alone stop it. The ship rocked suddenly as a beam of energy struck them. They've spotted us, Nancy shouted, wrestling with the controls. Evasive maneuvers, Jack ordered. Lisa, how close do we need to be to disable that thing? Another 1,000 kilometers, but their weapons will tear us apart before we get there. Jack stared at the view screen, at the deadly device that threatened millions of human lives. Then he saw it, a massive solar prominence erupting from the star's surface. Nancy, set course directly for that solar flare, he ordered. Sir, Nancy looked startled. The radiation will hide us from their sensors. It's our only chance to get close enough. Nancy's hands moved across the controls. Course set. Sir, this is suicide. Jack nodded. Maybe. But those are our people down there. We swore to protect them. The Phantom turned and plunged toward the churning wall of stellar fire. All hands, prepare for extreme radiation, Jack announced over the ship's speakers. This is going to get rough. The ship shuddered as it entered the edge of the solar flare. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. Shields failing, Lisa reported, her face illuminated by the red emergency lights. But we're invisible to their sensors now. Distance to target, Jack asked. 800 kilometers in closing, Nancy replied, sweat beading on her forehead as she fought to keep the ship stable. Jack watched as they approached the alien device. He had one chance to save the colony. One chance to show the Confederation that humanity would protect its own, no matter the cost. The U.S. Phantom burned through the solar flare, its outer hull glowing red with heat. Inside, the crew held on as the ship shook violently. 300 kilometers to target, Nancy called out, her voice steady despite the danger. Weapon systems ready, Lisa reported. Jack nodded. On my mark, break from the flare and fire everything we have at that device. The seconds stretched like hours as they approached. Warning lights flashed across every panel as the ship's systems strained under the intense radiation. Now, Jack ordered. Nancy pulled the ship out of the flare in a sharp turn. For a brief moment, they had a clear view of the alien device, a massive metal structure with energy beams feeding into the star's surface. Fire, Jack commanded. The Phantom's weapons erupted, sending missiles and energy beams toward the device. The first shots hit, causing explosions across its surface. They've spotted us, Greg warned. Confederation ship is moving to intercept. Stay on target, Jack ordered. Keep firing. More explosions bloomed across the alien device. Its energy beams flickered and died. The structure began to break apart, pieces falling into the star. Device is disabled, Lisa confirmed. The stellar manipulation is stopping. A cheer went up from the crew, but it died quickly as the ship rocked from enemy fire. Confederation warship approaching fast, Greg reported. They're charging weapons for another shot. Evasive maneuvers, Jack ordered. Get us out of here. The Phantom turned away from the star, engines straining. Behind them, the Confederation ship gave chase, firing repeatedly. Shields at 12%, Lisa called out. We can't take another direct hit. Jack's mind raced. Nancy, take us back toward the star. Nancy's eyes widened. Sir, trust me. Full speed toward the star, then cut engines and rotate on my mark. The Phantom swung around, racing toward the churning surface of Proxima Centauri. The Confederation ship followed, gaining quickly. Now, Jack ordered when they were nearly skimming the star's outer atmosphere. Nancy cut the engines and spun the ship 180 degrees. Weapons locked, she reported. Fire everything, Jack commanded. The Phantom unleashed its remaining weapons directly at the pursuing ship. Caught by surprise, the alien vessel took the full barrage head-on. Explosions rippled across its hull. Direct hit to their engine core, Lisa reported with satisfaction. They watched as the Confederation ship lost control, tumbling toward the star. Within moments, it was consumed by the fiery surface. Get us back to the colony, Jack ordered. Full speed. As the Phantom limped away from the star, Greg suddenly straightened at his communication station. Sir, I'm picking up transmissions, lots of them, on frequencies I've never seen before. He adjusted his controls, and strange voices filled the bridge. Dozens of alien languages, all talking at once. What are they saying? Jack asked. Greg listened carefully. They're talking about us. About humans standing up to the Confederation. The news is spreading across the galaxy. Meanwhile, In a hidden meeting room on Earth's moon, Admiral Bennett sat with representatives from 17 different alien species. The Tellurian ambassador Krell stood at the center of the room. "What the humans have done is unprecedented," Krell said to the gathered aliens. "No species has successfully defied the Confederation in 500 years. A Melosian representative, her blue scales shimmering under the lights, spoke next. "The humans saved their colony at Proxima Centauri. Their ship flew into a solar flare to stop the weapon. Such courage. Courage alone is not enough," rumbled Devore, the massive Cronan warrior. "The Confederation will send their main battle fleet now. Thousands of ships." Admiral Bennett stood up. "We don't expect you to fight our battles for us. But consider this. If humans can stand against the Confederation, what might we accomplish together?" The room fell silent as the aliens considered his words. At that moment, the door opened and Susan Ward entered with an urgent message. "Admiral, we just received word from the Phantom. They succeeded. The colony is safe." A murmur ran through the alien representatives. "There's more," Susan continued. "Our intelligence networks report the Confederation Council is in emergency session. Supreme Chancellor Isaac has declared humanity a galactic threat. They're mobilizing their main battle fleets." Bennett's face remained calm. "How long do we have?" 2 weeks, maybe less." The Admiral turned to the alien representatives. "The time for decision has come. Stand with humanity or stand aside. But know this, we will fight, with or without you." One by one, the aliens rose to their feet. The alliance of free species was about to be born. While the military prepared for war, anthropologist Maria Lopes made a discovery that would change everything. She worked in a small lab on Mars, studying ancient ruins that had been found beneath the red soil decades ago. "These symbols," she muttered to herself, brushing dust from a stone tablet. "They're not just decorative." For months she had studied the strange markings, believing they were left by an ancient Martian civilization. Now she realized the truth was far more surprising. "Computer, compare these symbols to early human writing," she instructed. The screen displayed several ancient Earth languages next to the Martian symbols. "They match," Maria whispered in disbelief. "These ruins aren't alien. They're human." She quickly sent a message to Earth. "Urgent. Must speak with Admiral Bennett. Discovery about human origins." 2 days later, Maria stood in a secure room at Earth Command. Jack, Admiral Bennett, and Chief Archivist Peter Clark listened as she explained her findings. "These ruins are at least 50,000 years old," Maria said, "but they contain human writing, human art, human technology." "That's impossible," Peter said. "Humans evolved on Earth." "What if we didn't?" Maria asked. "What if humans were placed on Earth by someone else? Someone called the predecessors." She showed them images of the tablets. "These records speak of a great civilization that once ruled the galaxy fairly and justly. They called themselves the predecessors, and based on these ruins, I believe they looked exactly like us." Jack leaned forward. "Are you saying humans are descendants of these predecessors?" "Yes," Maria confirmed. "And there's more. After the Telluri joined our alliance, Peter found records in their archives mentioning humans." Peter nodded. "Ancient Telluri texts speak of a prophecy about the returners who would restore balance to the galaxy. The Confederation has kept these texts hidden for centuries." Admiral Bennett looked troubled. "Why would they hide this?" "Because they fear us," Maria said simply. "Not just for what we might do, but for what we might remember." Jack thought about this. "We need to know more. If these predecessors built the first galactic alliance before the Confederation corrupted it, they might have left behind knowledge or technology that could help us." "The Telluri records mention a place," Peter said. "A forbidden sector of space where the last predecessor installation is rumored to exist. We need to find it," Jack decided, "before the Confederation fleet arrives." 3 days later, the U.S. Phantom departed again. Jack led the mission with Lisa Coleman as his science officer. Joining them were Tellurian archaeologist Zik and Cronin warrior Devor. "The coordinates are taking us toward the Carina Nebula," Lisa reported. "It's a strange place for an installation." "Perfect hiding place," Devor rumbled. "Nebula masks energy signatures." The journey was dangerous. Twice they had to hide from Confederation patrols. When they finally reached the nebula, navigation became nearly impossible. "I can't see anything through these gas clouds," Nancy complained as she piloted the ship. Zik, the Tellurian archaeologist, studied his ancient scroll. "The texts say to follow the path of 7 stars. Jack looked out at the swirling gases. "There," he pointed. "Those bright spots form a pattern." Nancy carefully guided the ship along the path formed by the brighter stars in the nebula. Suddenly, the gases parted, revealing a massive structure floating in space. "It's huge," Lisa breathed, scanning the installation, "and still powered after thousands of years." They docked at an ancient airlock. The team put on spacesuits and entered the silent station. Inside, lights activated as they walked forward. The architecture was oddly familiar, built for humans. "This confirms your theory," Jack told Maria over the communication link. "These predecessors were human. They found their way to a central chamber." As they entered, a hologram appeared, a man in simple robes. "Welcome, children of Earth," the hologram said in perfect English. "You have returned sooner than expected." The team froze in shock. "The hologram is interactive," Lisa whispered. "The AI is still functioning after thousands of years." "What is this place?" Jack asked the hologram. "This is the repository of knowledge," the figure replied. "The last legacy of those you call the predecessors. I have waited a long time for the children of Earth to return to the stars." "Who were the predecessors?" Jack asked. "They were you," the hologram said simply. "Or rather, you are them. When the great darkness came, some fled to distant Earth to preserve our kind. The same darkness that now controls your galaxy. Those who speak with mental voices instead of true words. Those who would bend all minds to their will." Jack and Lisa exchanged glances. This changed everything. The day of the final battle arrived sooner than expected. The Confederation launched its main assault on the Sol system with a fleet of over 8,000 vessels. The site filled space with ships of all sizes, from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts. From the command center on Europa, Admiral Bennett watched the enemy approach on the large display screen. "They'd brought everything they have," Olivia Rice said quietly. Bennett nodded. "As we expected. Status of our forces. All ships in position," Olivia reported. "The Allied fleet is standing by." The human defense fleet looked tiny compared to the Confederation armada. Just 300 ships, plus another 500 from their new allies. But Bennett had a plan. "Begin Operation Hornet's Nest," he ordered. Across the solar system, the human fleet started to move. They fired a few shots at the leading Confederation ships, then turned and fled in apparent disarray. "They're taking the bait," Olivia said as the enemy fleet gave chase, spreading out to pursue the retreating humans. Bennett smiled grimly. "Let them come deeper." Meanwhile, on the predecessor station, Jack and his team worked frantically to download the ancient knowledge to the human network. "How much longer?" Jack asked Lisa, who typed commands into a console. "Almost done," she replied. "But we have a problem. The station's sensors have detected a Confederation dreadnought approaching. They must have tracked us here." Jack turned to Devor. "How long until they reach us?" The Cronin checked a display. 20 minutes, maybe less." "We need more time," Lisa said. "The download isn't complete." Jack thought quickly. "Zik, is there anything in the predecessor knowledge about weapons or defenses?" The Tellurian archaeologist nodded. "Yes. The station has defensive systems, but they've been dormant for millennia. Can you activate them?" "I can try." Zik moved to another console and began working. Back in the Sol system, the Confederation fleet had passed Mars, chasing the retreating human ships. Admiral Bennett watched them reach the precise position he had planned for. "Now," he said into his communicator. General Sharon Young, hiding in an underground base on Mars, gave the signal. Hundreds of hidden installations across the solar system activated simultaneously. From the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, from hidden bases on asteroids, and from beneath the surfaces of Mars and Venus, weapons platforms rose and opened fire. At the same time, the newly formed Alliance fleet attacked from behind, led by Tellurian Admiral Kexar. The Confederation ships found themselves caught in a deadly crossfire. "It's working," Olivia said as enemy ships began to fall. "Their formation is breaking." But the Confederation commanders were experienced. They quickly regrouped, forming defensive patterns. Their superior numbers began to tell as they destroyed one human installation after another. "They're adapting too quickly," Bennett said with concern. "We're losing too many platforms." On the predecessor station, the situation was equally dire. The Confederation dreadnought had arrived and was firing on them. "Download at 90%, Lisa reported as the station shook. "We need a few more minutes." Jack made a difficult decision. "Zik, Devore, prepare to leave in the Phantom. Lisa and I will finish here and follow in an escape pod." "I will stay and fight with you," Devore insisted. "No," Jack said firmly. "The knowledge you carry is too important. If we fail here, the Alliance will need what you've learned." Reluctantly, the Cronin and Tellurian left for the ship. Jack turned to Lisa. "Any ideas how to buy more time?" She looked at the station schematics. "Actually, yes. The power core. If we overload it after we leave." Jack understood immediately. The station would explode, taking the dreadnought with it. In the Sol system, the battle had become the largest space conflict in galactic history. Human ships fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. One by one, they began to fall. "We can't hold much longer," Olivia reported as another Allied ship disappeared from the screen. Admiral Bennett's face was grim. "It's time for our last card. Contact Engineer Garcia." In a hidden laboratory orbiting Titan, Paul Garcia received the message he had been both expecting and dreading. He looked at the experimental device his team had created from the predecessor knowledge. "May this work," he whispered, and activated the gravity wave technology. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the battlefield, the Confederation's main weapons suddenly stopped working as the gravity waves disrupted their power systems. In the confusion, the elite strike teams led by Major Cynthia Walsh boarded and captured the Confederation flagship. The tide of battle had turned.